You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Not even supposed to be here today.
I will never buy that movie.
Respect my authority.
You've highly offended me.
Tune in next week for a much better episode. For now, though, courage.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek Unlimited. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week are...
TFU and Mike.
And Doug Abel from Talkin Bout My Generation.
Welcome aboard. So, what's up, guys?
We're going to need a bigger boat. Yeah, 146 episodes in a row?
I'm going to say of summer vacation, but...
No, that's 104 days.
Yeah, no. 146 episodes. Wait, I'm 147? No, we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. As we're recording this, we are about 7 hours and 40 minutes away from the brand new launch of the GCRN's website, which we will talk about later in this podcast. I, as, Steve and Doug have said, have been, wasting my summer away with 104 days, 104 podcasts, doing the Phineas and Ferb show with our good buddy Pecan Court Michael.
My pants are full.
I don't want to ask what's going on with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, take a drink already.
As you were talking about Pecan Court Michael, and then you're like...
Yeah, no, that's nutty. Well, see, that's the funny thing is we have... Okay, so a little bit of background, and it's only because the three of us haven't recorded in a long time, so I know Steve hates doing housekeeping now, but anyway.
Sometimes.
When we started the podcast organization without a cool acronym, which is the Phineas and Ferb review show here on the Geekcast Radio Network, we had I originally told him that the podcast was going to be explicit. He says, "Really? This is a kid's show?" I said, "Yeah, but it's tagged explicit not so much for F-bombs and S-bombs and A-bombs and TNA bombs and whatever else you want to call it. It's more so for the innuendo. Because he and I, and Steve knows this. Steve's recorded with us a lot in the past, obviously. We did, the Beast Wars, Beast Machines, the Beast Unleashed podcast, and that was all kinds of innuendo. So on the Phineas and Ferb show, what we've come up with now is the innuendo and the innuendon'ts. And a lot of what we end up saying is innuendon'ts.
Oh, man.
It's funny, it's hilarious. We have curbed saying F-U-C-K by replacing it with F-E-R-B. So it's, instead of it's what the Ferb.
Okay.
So let's get the Ferb out of here already. Let's, that kind of stuff. So that's what's going on there. The pull bag, we just wrapped a huge month in June here, because June 2nd, 2016, it took them 25 years to get Bop and Rock on the screen. But Bebop and Rocksteady are on the screen now in TMNT Out of the Shadows. And in IDW's infinite wisdom, they said, hey, guess what? There's 5 Wednesdays in June. We're going to have a 5-issue miniseries dealing with Bebop and Rocksteady. And it's called Bebop and Rocksteady Destroy Everything. And it's basically what would happen if Bebop and Rocksteady got their hands on DeLoreans. Not the DeLorean, but multiple versions of the DeLorean, like all 3 of them.
Oh, Jesus.
Except they use the time scepter from like Turtles 3, from the Turtles 3 movie.
Okay.
So there's multiple time scepters all over the places in this 5-issue miniseries. At one point, we end up with so many different versions of mutated and unmutated Bebop and Rocksteady, like pre and post mutation. It's just friggin' crazy, but it was a blast to read. It was a blast to talk about. Joe Reed and I over there have a blast talking about the Turtles stuff, and it's pretty fun. It's a pretty fun series. So that's pretty much all that I've really been doing. I've released a couple of M-Wires here and there the last 2 months or so. Steve and I did Kingsman: The Secret Service, and then Movie Roll Dan and I did The Shawshank Redemption. Tooncast Beyond, let's see, we did, my buddy Eduardo, formerly of Mark Who 42, did X-Men TAS Season 1, the old 92 show, so that's pretty much what's going on with me, other than helping Doug rebrand and rebirth his own podcast.
Yes, there will be a rebirth.
That canal was long.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Oh, God.
So, what have you been up to, Steve? Because you've been, running around like a chicken with its head cut off this week.
Well, I rebuilt. Well, actually, I've moved. I guess I'll get into it now. I've moved almost every website that I run. Order the new host. I have one left besides GCRN. GCRN has been actually on there longer than any of them. And when I say that, I mean, I've had the site there forever. I just haven't had it completed, and it's still not going to be complete when it goes up. Only in the capacity of the back-end podcast, like when you listen to them on the players. That's about the only thing I have left to get up on the new site. If you're listening on iTunes, or you're listening to Stitcher or
Blog Talk Radio.
Blog Talk Radio, everything's there. There's nothing that'll be uninterrupted. As far as the website's concerned, that's going to be a gradual.
Oh yeah, that's a huge. We've got 7 years of content. That's a huge undertaking to transfer.
Yeah, that's no kidding.
No, I'm not sitting here trying to state the obvious that you already know this, but I'm just saying to everybody else, we've got over 2,000 podcasts in 7 years.
Yeah, that was mostly why it's taking so long. Is because
Right.
Some of them I have to download and back up anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the newer content, the older content I have all backed up on a drive, so it's a matter of getting it all back on there. But I have over 100 gigs of MP3s to upload, so it's not been a fun process. And then I was working on This Week in Geek, finally got their transfer done, figured out a way of copying the site over a lot faster than having to rebuild and import everything. I found a duplicator tool that allowed me to literally, I make the duplicate, I create the database, and I create the folder on the other domain, and then I moved it, and then I had to do it once more to get it so that I could transfer the .com over. So it's been a complicated process that I've been going through the last week and a half. And of course, setting up the emails again, and then setting up the only .com, like at Geekcast Radio, it'll all function properly. It's just it's a lot of work.
Doug, function properly? Yes, it's functioning properly. It's a Doofenshmirtz thing.
Yes.
I still function. What a bet.
Yep. Oh God. Oh. I can't erase the image of Megan Fox's head imposed on Starscream now.
Oh, dear Lord.
There was a video that somebody put out. I had it on Facebook somewhere. I'll have to see if I can find it. There was a video of the death of Optimus Prime, the whole battle, the Autobot Decepticon battle from Transformers the movie. And this person superimposed all of the Bay people heads onto the Transformers. So instead of Megatron, it's Michael Bayatron. And it's just a picture of his head where Megatron's head should be. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Total nightmare fuel.
I thought he was made of stunner stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was mistaken.
Why throw away your life so recklessly?
Too late. Yeah, that was a pretty funny video. The other thing that I don't know if you have any questions you want me to answer on the website, but
you mean me?
Yeah.
Not on air. No, we can deal with that all off air. Well, okay. Well, because by the time this goes up, the listeners should be able to see the website.
Oh, they'll be able to see it because it's going to be going live before this podcast ends.
Well, yeah. So we have a whole new layout now. In one of our teaser images over the last week this week, I had said one of the teaser images is the new featured banner, which consists of 2 images, but it slides over 4 different sections. And I said it's going to be 95% written content and 5% podcasts, because the way we have the new website listed, or the way we have it set up, is the podcasts all have their own special area. Core shows have their own special area. We've got AGU, Cinema Geeks, GCR, M-Wire, Pullbag, Remote Control, Talking in Circles, and Tooncast Beyond. I did say Pullbag, right? I don't know, whatever. So. Anyway. And then below that we have the review podcast. So we have All Things Transformers, Cyber Dragon Ball, Command Center, Mayhem Mics, Pixels in the Animation, Podcaster Meets World, Powers of Grayskull, and Pauka. So, and each of those you can roll over, and it goes, once you click them, they basically give you the most recent one, and then 4 other top most recently released. So I love that about it. With the website, this was a theme and there are multiple versions of the theme. Should we say that this is the first one we actually have now, or no?
I think people get the gist of it.
Yeah. This one's all ours at this point. Steve can pretty much customize it to the max, to quote Saved by the Bell. I originally found this theme looking through, Theme Forest, or whatever the hell link is.
That's kind of my go-to for new WordPress.
Right. So, because we are a WordPress-based website and all that, I went through various versions, and I looked at this theme that we bought. Do you remember off the top of your head what it's called?
This one?
Yeah.
It's like...
Ooh. Technical difficulties. Let's move on, shall we?
All right, so this theme that we have now...
Chill News.
Chill News, okay. I looked through it because for me, I'm on a website, I'm a very visual person, because without glasses, I have 2200 vision in both eyes. I'm technically considered legally blind, even though I'm not blind. I can actually... It's just... I have a problem with distance stuff, but anyway, I was looking for something that I would be able to see everything very clearly and very, easily without having to zoom into 150% on my browser here. So we looked through various versions of this theme, and we picked one, and we wanted to highlight. We're going to start highlighting more written content. That's why I said earlier the featured banners that you're going to see. It's not going to be all podcasts anymore. It's going to be 95% written, 5% podcasts.
Well, it's going to be mostly for the purposes of staying up to date with content.
Right.
So like anything that's in the now of geekdom will show up at that point. So you'll definitely be able to you'll definitely be able to kind of keep up with what's going on instead of having to stare at the same podcasts that release on the same days every week.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing about the new site is that there's a whole lot of cool features. We have a functioning, because I believe it was our good friend Tim Silvers that pointed out at one point to us on before the current site was taken down to make room for this new site, the rolling menu bar. Steve loves this, and I love it too. It's awesome. Our actual menu bar.
Yeah.
Will as you scroll down, will roll through, and it'll stay on the top of the thing. I absolutely love this. The other sections that I love, the one that I really enjoy, that I found, is the tag cloud at the very bottom of the website. We have this new thing called the tag cloud. You click on any tag. Okay, I'm right now. I'm going to click on the He-Man tag. All right, so that's going to take me to any and all posts that are on the website dealing with He-Man, whether it be the pull bag stuff, whether it be the Powers of Grayskull stuff, whether it be old reviews, that kind of thing. So that's going to be really cool, and it's going to be easier. We do still have a search bar, but I think it's going to be easier using the tag cloud than it is going to be using a search bar. Anything else you want to say before we...
I mean, it's going to have a lot of features that are very similar to what people already recognize from the site. But again, the menus and the main page will probably be the biggest differences. The drop downs will feature more of the different types of content. A lot of the written stuff is going to be highlighted more so. The podcast, everybody knows we do the podcast, so those are they'll be there. It's going to be kind of, I don't know. Some of the aspects are like a mix of now and a mix of like when we went back to the original site.
Yeah.
And then then we've got the media roulette, which goes through like written stuff of tune, TV, comics, and movies, and the sidebar, which is below the comments. I also added something new earlier. It's the IMDb thing, so I can put like coming soon movies that are in the sidebar. I may make a actual section for that rather than the sidebar.
Oh, cool.
Center. I did that earlier.
I like it as the sidebar.
I might move some of the stuff from the sidebar over to the middle. But yeah, I was toying around with that, and I was like, it'd be kind of cool to know which movies are coming out next month that are like the highest profile movies. So I was like, oh, I'll put that in there. So especially since like Ghostbusters and Trek have been featured prominently on this podcast in recent, and I'm sure some of the others on the network. So
Fembusters is the most hated thing on YouTube.
I think people are going to be eating crow when that comes out, but that's just me personally.
I have my own opinions about it, but
what are your opinions on it? I mean, Reader's Digest.
Well, I thought it was going to be good at first. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem whatsoever with having 4 females playing the lead characters. That's not my issue at all. My issue was after I sat in the theater this past weekend and saw the new trailer. And they have Melissa McCarthy riding around like she's holding on to some bucking bronco while trying to shoot the proton pack. And then she immediately goes on with the gloves later on, and you see her throwing a ball of plasma or proton, whatever it is, and it starts bouncing around. And as soon as I saw it leave her hand, I go, it's going to ricochet, and it's going to come back, and it's going to scare the crap out of him, like it's going to hit him. And I went, it's slapstick. They went slapstick with the fucking movie. Excuse me.
Yeah, they did. So the first movie is somewhat slapstick. The second movie is a little bit more slapsticky than the first movie. But this one, because of who these comedians are, they went I think more for McCarthy than any of the other 3. They went full on slapstick because that's all she knows how to do. She can't act her way out of a paper frigging bag, in my opinion. Yeah. And like you, I don't mind that it's females. I don't care. I just think it's the wrong 4 women. It could have been any other 4 women in Hollywood except these people.
Funny thing is, you say that, but the original cast was all Saturday Night Live alumni, and this is no different.
Well, okay. Are these the only 4 women that Saturday Night Live has had in the past 40 years? No. Are these the only 4 women in the past 5 years that Saturday Night Live has had? Probably not.
Probably.
I would love to have seen Molly Shannon in this, or, Sherry O'Terry, even, oh God, what's her name? Maya Rudolph. I would have loved to see her in this film. Drop her in. I don't care. But Melissa McCarthy? Are you freaking kidding me?
Not a fan.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't stand her comedy.
I don't mind
Yeah.
hers, but the thing I don't like about it is a lot of the time when they write her, they make her like very obnoxious, and they make her, and it's fine. I'm not policing you guys, but I've kind of gotten to this point now where if the movie's dropping more than like 5 F-bombs, I don't particularly care to watch the rest of it anymore.
Yeah.
Because like in this regard, like a lot of her movies are like watching Adam Sandler films at this point in time.
Yeah.
And people are gonna probably be like, oh, it's different, but it's not really all that much because Adam Sandler's doing the same formula and it's not working for him.
Cursing is cursing. I mean, Adam Sandler's been cursing for the last 20 years.
No, he hasn't.
Years.
See, that's the thing. He recently, ever since that Judd Apatow movie,
Yeah.
that was the tipping of the iceberg there, because after that, he's done pretty much every movie since then. He's sworn like up and down like on any character he plays, especially like Ridiculous Six was kind of it was exact. Now, yeah, I know I'm opening that can of worms, but he's I would equate him to some of the stuff Melissa McCarthy's done like in that film, but that film was a waste of time, yes, granted. I wanted to see how bad it was. That's the only reason I watched it. Same thing with The Do-Over. That film actually wasn't that bad if you consider it as an action film, like an action comedy. It was actually really good as far as that. The fact that the only thing that makes it so I don't care for it is the blatant nudity that they were throwing on the screen, and then the fact that every other word out of Adam Sandler's mouth was like something vulgar. If they would have changed the dialogue on his character and made it just like his goofy, like sarcastic, like he used to do, and then kind of thrown in, the same aspects. Because I edited part of the movie just to see if I could do it. And I took out all the nudity scenes, all of the visual vulgarities, and then so that cut about 30 minutes off the movie, and thereabouts. And then I was trying to edit all the language
Cursing,
out. Well, it isn't just swearing; he's dropping everything. Like he's trying way too hard to get an audience for this.
That's a sad thing about certain people in Hollywood that we have grown up with and grown to love. Like, we love Wedding Singer, Waterboy, Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. We all love those films, 50
I think he
First
started
Dates.
kind of trailing off after Click.
Yeah,
Click
pretty much.
was like his last good movie, and then after that it went downhill.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, when you have The Cobbler, does it get any worse than that?
Yeah.
The Cobbler wasn't actually that bad. I would watch that again over watching some of his other stuff that's came out.
Yeah.
That actually had a good premise, and they had Dustin Hoffman in it, so.
But see, what I'm saying is, someone that, Sandler was a Saturday Night Live personality. He was on there a long time.
The problem with him, and I've discovered this over the years, is he's got the same writers that wrote his skits on Saturday Night Live. And they're still writing his movies. And those guys are so far out of touch that they're no longer relevant anymore. And so what they're writing doesn't apply anymore. And that's why people hate it so much. It's not necessarily Sandler. And it goes back to a lot of the time the writing and, you either like the person or you don't. I mean, that's... Yeah. And Melissa McCarthy, for me, like, I don't mind her, but... Paul Feig has directed her on numerous occasions and writes her in the same exact parts and everything. And so she's playing the same character on every movie she does.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. And what I was trying to say about Sandler, though, is, he started out on this really, really high curve, with all those movies I mentioned a minute ago. And he's now he's in a slow, steady skid towards a cliff. Because he essentially is the Peter Pan of the 90s. He never frigging grew up.
You want to know the funny thing about him, though? Is Netflix paid him to do these films because he still has the most watched films out of any particular actor on Netflix.
Yeah.
And
probably.
so for him, it's a cash grab to go on vacation. That's how his movies have been over the last 10, 12 years, because anytime he wants to go on vacation somewhere, he's like, oh, I'm going to shoot a movie here and then make the plot there.
That way I can write it off in taxes.
Exactly. And he can make the studio pay for his vacation. So, I mean, there's that, and then, the fact that he doesn't evolve. He does the same shtick and doesn't care if it sucks or not.
Yeah, like you said a second ago, Steve, I have not, I really haven't watched an Adam Sandler movie since, well, like you said, Click. I mean, really, once you have the Hoff, you just, it's kind of like Jeff Dunham and Peanut. Once you go purple, you never go back. Once you have the Hoff, you can never there's just no coming back from that.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
So yeah, Adam Sandler. I'm super excited for everybody to see the new GCRN thing, the new site and all that. It's going to be so fun for everybody. I think you're going to hear a familiar sound from the 90s, and then after that, we're going to come back and we're going to watch Zordon break bad.
Alpha, open a communications channel to the Power Rangers.
And here we go.
Jumping into the one of the fun topics of the night is, of course, Breaking Bad himself. Bryan Cranston is playing Zordon in the new Power Rangers movie.
The big blue head is back.
They put his giant bald head in a jar of blue liquid.
Yeah, they kind of did. I mean, I don't, I think I said this last week, or I might have said this somewhere else on some other podcast, but I think I said this last week when we did Ghost Trek. Until I see the trailer for the new Power Rangers movie, none of the news announcements or the reveals of the cast. I mean, yeah, we had the episode a while back where we talked about the Iron Rangers because the suits, it looks like Tony Stark created the Power Rangers essentially, because they all look like Iron Man suits. Yeah. I made that comment, but until I actually see a 1.5, 2-minute trailer, not a teaser, not a 30-second thing, not just one poster. Until I see an actual trailer, I'm not making any judgments on this movie until I can actually see it. Seeing cast photos of, Queen Mira, Rita Repulsa, seeing, Aquaman's wife in this movie or something like that, in a picture, that really makes no sense. It doesn't really give me any sense of what the movie is going to be about. So, hey, Bryan Cranston as Zordon. I mean, it's just one other role that, he's going to add to his belt, and that's great because technically for him it's coming full circle because he used to be a big blue villain in the old show.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of good with it as well. I feel the same thing as you do, Mike, in that I don't want to make any judgments, and part of it was because as I got older watching Power Rangers, I felt like it kind of went downhill as they started getting into some of the more ludicrous stories. And, I'm hoping that this isn't going to be just completely goofball and that it's actually going to be, I don't know, I guess a little bit more serious, like how we're seeing some of the more, I don't want it to be gritty because I'm tired of gritty. Look at what happened with Batman versus Superman. We don't want that for this.
Yeah, we love you, man, but seriously, this show has been running on BVS. This show started with BVS, so
yeah,
we're done with. And I say this all the time, and everyone I know, the entire listening audience is going to cringe. We're done with the BS that is BVS. It may have given Altered Geek its launch, but we're past it. But you're right. There are a lot of dark, gritty films right now. I don't want to see something. I want to see something that homages the old show.
I want to see something in tune with that old 95 film.
Yeah, okay. I can agree to that. I want to see something that homages the old show, that gives us little nods, but at the same time tells a new story, especially if the Rangers are going to be new, because I don't think they've just gotten new actors to play Jason, Trini, Kimberly, Zach, Billy. You know, I don't think that's it. I think they've gotten new actors to be a whole new cast, to be a whole new set of characters and all that. And it'd be great if any of the old ones show up as cameos. That's fine. But really, like Steve said, something in the vein of the original film would be kind of cool.
Well, to kind of frame off of that cameos, Mike, you and I already talked about this, but
yeah,
I would love to see Bulk and Skull.
Okay, so we were talking about this on Facebook, and did you say there was rumors out there or something? What did you say? I don't even remember now.
I said there were rumors that they were going to have possibly Bulk and Skull, and I said, I said back to you, I said, only if they are the Bulk and Skull. Right.
Not actors that play those, not new actors that play those character names. It has to, if you're going to put Bulk and Skull in there, you have to get Paul Schreier and Jason Narvi. Now, if you're going to have Bulk and Skull-like characters, or have like their descendants, like they did in Samurai, if you watch it long enough, even if you watch it from the beginning, the kid that shows up to be Bulk's sidekick in Power Rangers Samurai is, I don't even remember the kid's. He's essentially Skull's son, Bulk's nephew. And by the end of the series, Skull does eventually show up, and that scene was amazing and awesome. It was the best part of Samurai, in my personal opinion. But either bring the originals back if you can, if they'll come back, and have them be their classic characters, or throw that out and have all new characters that have nothing to do with Bulk and Skull. You can still have two numbskulls. You just can't call them Bulk and Skull unless you get Jason Narvi and Paul Schreier.
Well, and here's what I would be okay with. If they had a Bulk and Skull, and then they have, Jason Narvi and Paul Schreier show up and do a complete face-off and be like, man, you look awfully familiar. Did we have something, do I know your mom or something like that? I would be totally cool with something like that. That would be fine. If they gave a nod and obviously saw each other.
Right.
But,
yeah,
if they're going to have somebody brand new be Bulk and Skull, those guys had better hit it out of the park or else forget it. Don't even bother putting them in.
I ask this question all the time on this show and on other shows when new casting of old characters comes up. Who could possibly play those roles? What male actors currently in Hollywood that have what Jason and Paul had could pull that off? Like I said, you could have two numbskull characters. You could have two nitwits. That's fine. But if you're going to sit there and say they are Bulk and Skull, then they have to embody what the originals kind of had, at the same time striking out on their own with their own comedy and not just sticking to homaging. I'll stick to my original statement. If you're going to have Bulk and Skull, get the originals. If you're not going to have them, get different actors to have new characters.
Yeah.
Steve?
I'm kind of indifferent on they have to be there to some capacity. I don't really care. Like, they're recasting everybody. It doesn't really matter if it's them or not to me, because I think that no matter how much we say that nobody can play them, there are people that are available that can play them, and it's...
Well, no, I'm not saying that no one... I'm saying kind of like what Doug was saying, where it's, somebody's going to have to step up.
Well, yeah, nobody can replace them in the job that they did. But at the same token, it's going to be, either way you look about it, it's going to be it's going to be difficult to live up to the hype and the expectations from the show.
Well, let me make this comparison. I'm going to use Star Trek for it, because everybody
Steve loves Star Trek.
I do too.
Well,
that's actually going to be the next topic.
Yeah.
Well, we'll use that as a segue, but we started off with the new thing where everybody was talking about the reboot for Star Trek, and we heard that Zachary Quinto, Siler was going to play Spock. Everybody was kind of like, ugh. And then they put him in, and I thought he pulled it off and was great. I mean, everybody was really surprised at how well Zachary Quinto portrayed Spock. And then you have him facing Spock, facing Leonard Nimoy in the film, and it was kind of like, okay, and you see them together, and you realize that they are two separate people, and that they are two separate, while being the same character, they're two separate beings, and they're going off in their own ways. And I thought that was great the way that they pulled that off, because it established that. And I think if they kind of had something like that, like I said, with Bulk and Skull, or with even any of the Power Rangers, I think it would be okay. Right.
The only thing I can think of when anyone mentions, and I like Zachary Quinto's Spock in the Abrams films, but ever since, and we all three of us love this show here, so I know I won't be alone when I say this, but every time I hear of Zachary Quinto as Spock, all as I can think of is Sheldon.
Oh no, they sent the wrong Spock. Live long and suck it, Zachary Quinto.
Because he orders a standee, and they sent...
Where's Future Spock when you need him?
Yeah, really. Oh, Future Spock needs to start commenting on Beyond. That's what Future Spock needs to start doing. Yeah, Future Spock is one of Steve's alter egos.
We made that as a joke after Into Darkness.
Yeah.
Where he quotes various Leonard Nimoy phrases that are absurd from like whatever it's been in.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he was in Big Bang Theory, or when he was in, just misquoting things on purpose, or doing like anti-Spockisms. It's hilarious to do it as Future Spock. So,
when does Beyond come out?
July 17th, I think.
Okay, you need to spend from July 1st to July 16th. You need to spend the next 16 days using Future Spock leading up to the release of the film.
Yes,
I think July 18th, but yeah.
Well,
whatever.
Actually, I'm going to let you guys know that they're going to have at Comic-Con. They've already announced that they've got a special screening for people. They gave out random badges that will be able to go and see the world premiere here in San Diego. So how that's going to work, I have no flippant idea, but apparently the entire cast is supposed to be here when they premiere it. So they'll have it. I guess they're going to have it on like that Wednesday night or something like that before con, but they're going to have the world premiere here in San Diego. And I'm like, oh, lovely. Stay away.
I entered their little contest online to try and get tickets to see the premiere. But that's because I really want to see the movie. And and it would be cool to see it at the premiere. But, the film though, like I'm looking forward to it as kind of a whole. In comparison to Into Darkness I absolutely hated. Because the writing on it was horrid.
Yes, it
was just an amalgamation of just random Trek things, and they made no sense whatsoever. But and you can see in each movie though, they rehash that stupid bar scene where Kirk's always in the thing having a I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and they're like, well, blah blah blah. And so like Bones is like the voice of reason because Pike's dead. So where's Future Spock when you need him? I know I had to go that low road, but I'm
going to take it even lower. He's up in heaven, ghosting around with Starscream.
I thought you were going to take a different low road, but because we did recently lose one of the actors for the film.
Oh yes. No! That right there is a too soon joke.
I wasn't going to make the joke. That's why I was
no. But anything mentioning Chekhov is way that no, that's
because
no,
that
no,
guy
no.
was extremely talented. But
Yes,
Oh God,
he
yes.
was.
and it's unfortunate that we lost him to something. I mean, granted, I'm glad it wasn't to drugs, but like, is something as
Yeah.
stupid as your car shifting
Yeah.
out of gear and smashing into you, like that's like I don't know. I just because that's not even in your control whatsoever. Like the other ones that have died of like drug overdose, at least they controlled when they went. But
When that happened,
I was just like in shock about it.
yeah, well, when that happened, you know how everybody on the internet, not just us, not just anybody associated with GCRN, This Week in Geek, whatever, anybody on the internet, whether it's a joyful thing or a sad thing, they will say mind blown. I seriously think the entire world that day that knew anything about Chekhov, was it Anton Yelchin? I think his name.
Anton
Yeah,
Yelchin.
so anyone that knew anything about him or anyone that saw him in the 2 Star Trek movies, everybody that day that news came out was the entire internet was saying, "Oh my God, mind blown," because
you heard what it was, right? It was a recalled Jeep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you want to talk about senseless deaths that just shouldn't happen. That's one of them. We did this thing, and I know I have to tie it into this. We did this thing earlier this month on Geekcast Radio. Actually, we did it here on Ultra Geek as well, called Hot Car Awareness, about leaving your kids and your pets in your car during the summertime. And nationwide here in the U.S. last year, there were 25 children that died from parents leaving their kids in a hot car, and those are 25 senseless deaths that could have been prevented. If this Jeep thing that was a recall vehicle, like, why are, and I know I'm going off the rails here, but I'm going to tie it around because I'm going to let Steve actually answer this because he actually works for a dealership. Why the hell do these car manufacturers not check all that? Like, I know they have tons of safety precautions and everything else, but how does something like this get through? Like, is this just the one squeaky wheel that's through? Because I've seen car companies that have said, we're going to recall 1,000, 2,000, 6.5 million.
There's like a funny situation with that. For one, the company already knows there's going to be a recall on it based on how many times somebody has taken in for an issue. So that's the first indicator. The second is they start mailing out these recall notices to people when they have no idea when the parts are coming. So they get, that's the thing that drives us nuts about it, because we get calls about these people freaking out about their vehicle, which, justly so. And they're like, I get this recall notice from, such and such a company. And it happens to all of them. Doesn't matter which one you work for. They're all in the same boat, because it all boils down to the fact that it's a part shortage and it's a parts manufacturer issue. Because if you've noticed, the inventories of these lots have gone down drastically in the last few years, because there's a part shortage. And so rather than have like all these extra models of these vehicles sitting on the lot, and because they can show higher percentage of sold units of ones that were manufactured, they manufacture less vehicles. And so at the same time, whenever you have to wait for a part, never mind they're putting the same part, or they put the fixed part on the new vehicles that are being shipped out, they won't have extra to send to the dealerships until like 6 months after the fact, because they don't. It's a mismanagement issue, but they get people worried about this crap way too early when there's nothing that can be done about it, and then they get pissed at the dealership because they're like, "Well, I got this recall notice. You're supposed to fix my car," and it's like, "No, we a lot of time we don't even know the recall's coming." Because we don't have any indication of when parts are even showing, or even if there is parts for something, if it's not a recall or it is a recall, they can't tell you when the parts are coming anyway, because they don't even know. There's no like set date of when the parts are coming. Because I had somebody in one of my rental units a couple weeks ago, and he was in my vehicle for about 10 days because they couldn't give me a definite answer of when the parts were coming, because the company couldn't bother to give them an ETA of when it's coming.
Well, let me give you an example here. I have a 2007 Ford Mustang. Okay. I received a recall notice about this car 2 years ago. stating that I had to have the airbags replaced on the passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 2 years ago they said, well, we're going to send you this notice letting you know about the recall. We don't have the parts in, but we're going to send you another notice to let you know that, hey, you can take your car in to get the parts. Okay. Like, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I finally got a letter saying, the parts are in. You can now go and take your car in to have it repaired.
Oh my God!
2 years later.
Oh my God!
That sounds almost like my old car that I had until about 2 weeks ago, because I just leased a new vehicle. My car was a 2005 Chevy Aveo, and I bought it used, and I drove it for about 9 years. Well, there was this. I've had everything that could go possibly wrong with this car go wrong with it during the time I was paying on it, because it was on factory warranty, balance of factory, plus I bought an extended warranty, which proved to be a very helpful thing, because they gutted this vehicle and rebuilt it all for the most part over this entire warranty period, and then after the period was over, nothing went wrong with the vehicle other than general wear and tear. So when this recall notice came out, I want to say it was 2 years ago. It was something with the windshield wiper switch, or no, that's what it was, because there's two different things on this. It's like a Korean car anyway, Daewoo, that's rebranded Chevrolet. But
okay.
So just no, let me finish this.
Okay, good.
Because you have to turn on your lights when you drive this, because it's not one of those ones that are advanced with the daytime running lights. There was a risk of it catching fire and melting the dashboard and blowing up the car. And I'd been driving this car for 7 years at that point, and I'm like, well, if it was going to blow up, it would have done so by now. And so,
please tell me you got rid of this before Ian was born.
No, I had the car until 2 weeks ago.
Damn.
But they had to replace that switch 4 years ago. And granted, it wasn't the recall, part, but it was just replaced anyway, because I had a different issue at the time that was electrical, and so they were just replacing anything to try and fix it. So I get this recall notice, and there's of course no fix. And then I think it was 6 months ago, I got a notice saying, "Oh yeah, we got the fix." And so it was literally they just swapped out a part, and then it was okay, done. And I'm like, yep, I'm pretty good that I knew the car wasn't going to blow up. So.
All I can think of is a line. I don't remember where this line is from, but the fix is in. That's all I can think of.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But
so speaking of getting back to Trek, we want to talk about last week's feedback on episode 145. So
yes, Trek
and the Trek fan films.
So yeah, there was a little bit of, and I'll let Doug talk about it too in a second, because I kind of brought up last week with Paramount CBS having their rules of what was acceptable with their fan films, and then I came up with my own list of ways that I thought that they could have done it better without having to alienate and piss off the entire fandom. And while I understand it is Paramount CBS's content, that they're making their basically fan film, fan fiction of, for instance, Walking Dead says, "I'm surprised it took this long for someone to crack down this hard on Star Trek fan films. I find it a garbage move, but with all the BS with YouTube and fair use, fan films will most likely become a thing of the past." That was one comment. And then Chev, Jankowski says, "I personally think that fan films are mostly garbage, and studios and creators have every right in the world to control the content they own or created. Maybe fans should stop trying to recreate ideas someone else came up with and create their own. Fans today want everything for free. They hate that ads exist, but somehow want shows to have high production value even though they can't earn money. They want to steal licensed content and get mad when the people who own the content and are allowing you to use it want to control the property. It's ridiculous. Just because you're a fan of something doesn't mean you have the right to own it and can use it any way you wish."
Okay, well, I will say that there is a thing out there called fair use on certain things. Not everything, but I do agree with him about fans constantly taking the old ideas and things like that. I mean, Star Trek has been around 50 years. I mean, there have been so many different TV shows,
5 television shows, 1 animated series. There's been 10
animated
10 classic prime timeline films, 3 rebooted films, and then there's a new series starting next year. So
yeah, so I mean, yeah, I do agree with him about finding something else, but at the same time, putting okay, so I recently saw somebody on Facebook post a video of Transformers G1 tied into stop motion with the action figures.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a scene where Starscream and Thundercracker and Skywarp were flying off and various things, and Optimus Prime and Megatron were doing various things. And I don't mind that kind of stuff.
But the difference they're saying is that that's a true fan film.
Yeah.
And they're saying that they don't want any of these like high production value like Axanar or Star Trek Renegades, of Gods and Men, like all these ones that have people that used to work on the shows, whether they were actors or crew. They don't want any of them associated with it. They want it to be purely fan films, to which I can't really blame them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, they're also money grabbing with this situation, because they're saying, oh, if you want to use, like the phaser, you have to buy it directly from us, the prop.
Yeah.
If you want, which I find to be a crock, like, and it can't be a toy, it can't be a reproduction, it can't be like a knockoff. It has to be an official licensed prop from Paramount CBS.
Next thing you know, Paramount CBS are going to cut down cosplayers.
Oh, I don't even want to think about how ugly that'll be at Comic-Con.
That'll be hilarious.
That's what this whole fan film thing reminds me of.
Sitting there with popcorn watching this whole thing.
Yeah, CBS and Paramount will self-destruct if that happens.
The thing that kills me about them is, like, it has really nothing to do with that. I'm not slanted towards their service anyway, because like their app, they're already kind of, to me, screwing the pooch with putting it mobile only to their app. If they really wanted to get the most broad exposure, they'd either put it on cable or put it on, like, and I know that their CBS app is like their like HBO Go or like Hulu or like Netflix for CBS content, but I'm not, like, I already subscribe to Netflix. I'm not gonna like pick up CBS's just so I can watch one television show.
One television channel. My wife and I both looked at each other. We said, you know what? We'll buy an antenna and we'll hook it up to our TV to try and pick up CBS. There's no reason for us to sit there and try and go through the paywall that CBS has put up to watch their older crap.
Well, not only that, but like, I mean, I have one of those $20 antennas and it worked great. I had it on my TV. I got Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, and CW. So that was all the channels I watched anyway. But they're only going to air the first episode on cable for Star Trek, and then they're going to have the rest of it on the app. And it's going to come out weekly on the app. And honestly, to me, that's going to turn me off to it.
Yeah.
Because, like, if they had it on cable, I would make a concerted effort to sit down and watch it or DVR it so that they could still get the numbers for it. But, like, to sit there and have to stream it through their app. I mean, if it's available on their website, I'll probably watch it through that, because, like, I can do that when I'm on my breaks at work. But
see, that's the other thing I'm wondering about the whole new Star Trek TV series. Is it just going to be behind the paywall on the app? Or are they going
to be a paywall thing?
Okay, but are they going to eventually allow it to be, like, okay, remember when that 75th anniversary Captain America thing was on ABC?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was on ABC one Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whenever the hell it was. On the very next day or the day before that, I went on ABC's website to see if I could watch it, because most of the big networks just immediately put the stuff on the next day. It said, nope, you got to wait a week. I'm like, that's kind of crappy for free content that you have to wait a week if you can't watch it on TV itself. But at least it's not behind a paywall. So I'm wondering if they'll ever take Star Trek and just put it on the CBS website to watch, like, say, after the first 5 episodes have aired on the app and behind the paywall, will they then say, oh, well, here you go, you can just have it anyway?
Let me answer that right now. They're going to say no, because these are the guys who are the, how do I find a nice way to term,
They are flubbergusters.
Yes, there we go. These Ferbs are these Ferbers are, just really irritating me. But yeah, they took old shows. Now, keeping in mind that CBS and Paramount and Viacom own a bunch of content. They own MacGyver. They were the ones who produced it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they had at one time when you could actually go onto their website and watch all the episodes of MacGyver. Not anymore. It's all behind the Ferbing paywall.
And now it's on Netflix. The whole series is on Netflix and Hulu, so it's behind those paywalls too. But we're like, for me at this point, and I've said this in the past few episodes, would I love to have cable television again? Sure. Do I need it? No. I pay just under $21 a month for Netflix and Hulu. My Hulu Plus subscription is $11.99, and that gets me unlimited everything with no ads. So, granted, most of the new shows, there's only, like, okay, last week we talked about the CW Netflix deal with getting Flash off of Hulu and all that crap, which is stupid to me, but anyway, we talked about that last week. Where the reason why CW and Hulu only was allowed from CW to have 5 episodes of Flash at one time, the most recent episode and then 4 others, streaming at one point, and they would then remove the other ones. And I'm like, why not just put the whole shaboodle? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's the whole paywall TV, especially the network apps. It's like, why don't y'all just talk to Netflix and Hulu, or talk to Hulu more specifically, because Hulu has that plan of next day airings. Right. So if what's today, Thursday? So SmackDown. I know no one here. Well, I know Steve's not a wrestling fan, but SmackDown, WWE SmackDown airs tonight. It'll be available to watch on Hulu tomorrow by 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern. So why not, instead of trying to create your own paywalls and getting people not to buy your apps or pay subscriptions for your apps, why not just have a major deal with Hulu for infantile number of years, where your content can be, I don't know, just the whole thing is just screwed beyond belief.
Yeah.
So in other words, we're on one side of the fence and we feel it, but on the other side we feel screwed too.
Yep. It's none but screwballs around here. All right. The next, should we move on now? Or
yeah, we should move on.
Okay, so the next topic is mine. I wanted to bring this up because I'm getting kind of sick of it. June 27th is Jen and I's anniversary date. It's we had 1 year anniversary a few days ago. So I wake up, I come out here to my computer, and I get going and get doing stuff, checking social media and everything else. And for me, every now and then, I use Facebook trending a hell of a lot more than Twitter trending or Twitter moments or whatever the hell Twitter has. Anyway, I see there on Facebook trending that June 27th is National Sunglasses Day.
I wear my sunglasses
at night so I can, yeah. So my thought was, for the topic here was, can we please talk about National Whatever the Hell Day? Because it seems like every single day of every single month since the last 4 years, every day has some sort of celebration day. Now, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about the gay pride stuff or anything like that at all. That's been cemented in stone for a while. I'm talking about things like National Donut Day or National Kick Your Friend in the Nuts Day.
I have it for you, Mike. I have it for you. National Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah, that really started it. Or National, and I know this one is only on his birthday, but National Talk Like William Shatner Day. But that's really on his actual birthday. So that one,
you know what? I'll give that one. That one's okay.
That one I'll give a pass because it is on the guy's birthday. But apparently June 27th is this magical day where everybody needs to celebrate wearing sunglasses. What the ferb are you talking about? Can't we just have a normal day, people? Can't we just have a normal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Does every day have to be celebrating something?
For some special people, yes. Because they have to feel special. Come on, Mike. Don't get me started on this because then I'm going to start dropping F-bombs and it's going to be...
Oh, no. Just stick with the ferb bombs. There you go.
You know what I mean? It's going to be... I'm basically going to tell you that you're wrong and everybody else is right, and that's it. Because that's the way that life is.
So and I hope Steve doesn't mind this, that I'm going to ask Doug this. What the heck was going on with your Facebook?
Oh, man. Okay.
Reader's Digest version.
Reader's Digest version. It starts off with a friend posted up a picture from Red Cross, and there were a couple of African American kids who were pushing and basically not being cool around the pool. Okay, and so I looked at that and I said, oh, I'm kind of surprised that they actually had that because, from what I know statistically, and I pulled out statistics from University of Memphis and said, there are not a lot of African-American kids or Hispanic kids that know how to swim. Proven fact statistics. And it blew up on me. And people were like, you can't say that. That's racist. Wait a minute. It's a statistic. It's a known fact. It's not like I'm saying, oh my God, black kids are horrible and they can't swim, so they're horrible. No. I was making a statement saying they really should learn how to swim. And that was it. And so everybody started telling me, well, you're wrong, and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of went, you know what? This is BS. And I said, first I said that Trump was wrong. I don't like Trump. That's my stance, And people were saying, you're wrong. And I just finally said, oh, my God, shut up. And I lost it. So, yeah, I went off on my little tirade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, everybody has to, okay, me personally, I know, Steve, you said earlier that you thought I was going to go down the low road of making a very, very bad, tasteless joke about a recent celebrity death, which I would never do. Most of the time, I would never do that, unless it was Britney Spears or Taylor Swift or somebody like that. Anyway, but I have the common sense of some things you just don't say aloud. You can say them in your head all the day long. But there's just certain things. There's just certain stuff that you don't say. You don't talk. It's not being about politically incorrect or correct, but it's like, when did the entire world lose its mother fervent backbone about anybody expressing their opinion? It's like, oh my God, I can't express this opinion because it's going to offend this person, and that one guy over in Moscow. Yeah. It's like, what the hell? At the same time, it's a hard double-edged sword. It's it's two sides of the same coin. Yes, I know there are certain things I should never say, which it's fine. I don't have to say them. But at the same time, if I want to articulate my opinion in a very interesting way, whether it's a positive or negative opinion, I have freedom of speech. I should be able to do that without the entire internet jumping down my throat. That's why I always use, whenever I bring up anything controversial, even if I'm doing it on purpose, I always use, after I get responses, oh my God, I say one thing about this, and everybody loses their mind. You go to Heath Ledger, everybody loses their minds. It is ridiculous.
It really is. And that was my whole rant of just, the world has lost their minds on social media. Mm-hmm. Guns are bad. Guns are good. Trump is bad. Trump is good. Hillary is bad. You know, I'm just going down that line. No matter which way you go, you're wrong.
We're essentially putting a gun in our mouth talking about guns right now. So let's transition.
Yes, please.
We are going to actually go to myself and our good buddy Joe Reed from Off the Cuff. Joe Reed also does the Turtles comic stuff with me on the pull bag. I had a recent discussion with him about altered tech. So you're going to hear Steve introduce the altered tech segment, and then you're going to hear Joe and I talk about landlines and cell phones. You're also going to hear, and I hope Steve allows this or not, he may end up bleeping it, but I hope he doesn't. Because we're talking about landlines and cell phones, I went ahead and I grabbed out the telephone tough guy scene from Lethal Weapon 4. And it does have cursing, folks. It does have cursing, so you have been warned. Let's get to altered tech after this.
We brought the entire convention center to the brink of an inter-genre geek war.
Okay, Michael, if we're going to tackle this podcast thing, we've got to do something really special. It has to be cool, daily, in audio form, and undetectable by radar. Something that screams summer. I know, let's do a Phineas and Ferb review podcast. We'll call it the Podcast Organization Without a Cool Acronym, or POWCA for short. What do you think?
I think if we're not careful, Candace is going to bust us.
You can find POWCA on the Geekcast Radio Network, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and all of the other methods you find podcasts.
We'll give you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is a frog-throated TF2 and Mike. Steve Megatron was originally going to introduce Altered Tech, but I don't know, he's not here. So here's Altered Tech, talking about landlines and cell phones, as I said a moment ago, with myself and Joe Reed. Enjoy.
Excuse me. Hello? Hello? Shit! Fucking phones, man. You get a call, they cut you off. You make a call, they cut you off. What's the point? I never
Don't you know what they're doing, kid? They fuck you with cell phones. That's what it is. They're fucking you with the cell phone. They love when you get cut off. You know why? Huh? You know why? Because when you call back, which they know you're gonna do, they charge you for that fucking first minute again at that high rate.
If you're lucky enough to be able to call back, because the 3-hour battery you got only lasts for 20 fucking minutes.
Or what if you're behind a fucking hill and it's going...
Oh, you're going through a damn tunnel or some shit, man? And they keep making it smaller. You know why they make them this small? So you can lose them. Why? So you have to buy more phones. I never lost my mother's phone. Took you 2 hours to make a damn long distance call. 4. 5. Oh, I messed up. Hang up. Gotta do it again. 4. 5. I never lost my Sports Illustrated swimsuit phone.
And how about the fucking scanners? These idiots, they get your phone number, and then they make calls all over the world.
Somebody
You gotta pay
took
for
my number.
Oh, what happened to
and
you?
called Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Remember Afghanistan? I don't know nobody in Afghanistan. I don't know what fucking Afghanistan looked like. And even if I did, I would not talk to their Afghan ass for 3 hours. I won't talk to my daddy for 3 hours.
They fuck you with the cell phones. Hey, you know what happens when you go to a drive-thru? They get you any... Hold on.
Why am I talking?
Hold on. Leo Getz, private investigator.
Private investigator?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Getz, I was wondering if you would be willing to investigate my privates.
Investigate what?
My privates, you stupid shit. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, very funny, Riggs. You're costing me a lot of money here.
Yeah, at least
$3
$3,
dance for
yeah.
a fucking call. They're fucking me with the cell phones. Now you're fucking me.
You're pretty tough when you're on the phone, aren't you, little fella?
That's right. Telephone tough guy. Why am I talking to you on the phone?
Get the fuck out of here. Go home.
So you have a smartphone now. When you said, Joe, what smartphone you had, I'm like, he's got a Razar. Now all he needs is a Toka.
If they made one, I'd buy it.
Yeah, that's always funny when they have various things. But, yeah. I remember when you posted about the Motorola Razr. I'm like, wow, that phone's so old. But, hey, it works for you.
Yeah, I haven't encountered anything that I can't do. The Facebook Messenger app sometimes doesn't send my things. It'll sit there and say searching for network. And I don't know if that's an app thing or if it's my phone thing. So whatever, I just go get on the computer. But everything else, there's no... Like, why would I need a newer phone? I can't tell anything that I can't do. I mean, I'm sure it couldn't play some games, but I don't want my cell phone for games anyway. I like my games on the television with a joystick in my hand.
Yeah. And the other thing was with the rate. I remember way back when, I don't even know how long ago, it has to have at least been 10 years or more that the Razr even came out when they first started those. I remember I went to a cell phone store back then to see it. Oh, it's the hot new thing. The only thing, if I'm remembering correctly, is the keypad is very thin. Like it's you know what I mean? Isn't it like paper thin?
Nah, it's all touchscreen.
Yeah.
Whatever I have is one of the later versions of it. It's only 4 years old.
Oh, okay. Well, the original one.
A slide-out keyboard?
No, it didn't have a slide-out. See, the original versions were flip phones.
All right.
And the flip phone version of the Razr is... So as you can see, the original Razr... And if you look at the screen there, if you look at all those buttons, they're essentially inset buttons. They're not pop-out. So I remember when I originally saw the Razr, I'm like, that phone looks so cool, but oh my god, it would be a nightmare to use those buttons.
I'd have to mash my fat finger down inside them.
Yeah. Oh, Motorola Razr, when you first came out, you sucked. So you said you had the Razr M?
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's cool. It's the full-on, full-screen, touchscreen. Yeah, very, very cool.
It's small, but it like I said, totally does what it's supposed to do.
That's cool. That works.
I will never spend money on a smartphone. I mean, not more than $30-$40. I don't know who's out there paying $400 for a smartphone. Like, does it really do that much for you, considering I'll buy a new video game system for $250 and have it for 6-7 years? Like, I don't get it. A phone is not worth that much to me. To avoid paying that much money, I would not have a phone. I would use a regular thing. I just don't get it. I don't get what some people put their monetary value in, I guess. That's a more considerate way to say it.
Well, like I said before, it's a hot new thing. You look at Apple and you look at iPhone and all that stuff, or iPads and everything else, and it's the hot thing to have. And if you have that disposable income, and most people end up on a 2-year contract with a payment plan. Like I hear ads all the time for AT&T Next. AT&T Next is essentially, oh, you can have this new phone, but you're going to have to pay us $40 extra a month for a payment plan for the cost of the phone,
And I look at that and say, yeah, I'll buy the phone for $40, but you want me to pay for 2 years? No. I think the payment plan thing is just the trick to get you to spend way more money than you think you want to.
Oh, absolutely.
When you find out you're paying $600 for that phone over 2 years.
Yeah. See, for me, if I was ever in my life or whatever, I'm 36, so whatever I have, whatever time I have left, if I was ever going to get a smart device, it would probably be like an iPad Pro, and I would just pay one flat fee, whether it's whatever the prices are for the iPad Pros, $499, $599, that for me is the same thing for you as like what a video game system is.
Yep.
So... I'm at this point in my life, I pay $90 a year for Skype. I have a home phone through my cable company, so it's not like I need an actual. I mean, I do have a cell phone, but it's one of the old ones, and I don't really. I use it for text messaging. That's pretty much it. Yep. That's all I use it for. Back in the day, I used to do games on phones and everything else. I remember when Nokia started coming out with like the 5120 and the 6120 and all that stuff. They had that old game Snake on there. I would play that all the
Snake
damn
is awesome.
Yes, I would play that all the damn time. But now it's like I just don't. I'd rather have the iPad or some sort of bigger tablet than. And then they try to outdo tablets with, oh my God, here's. And I keep saying iPhone because it's really the only one I really know. Oh, here's the iPhone 6S Plus that's 12 by whatever. It's like this super giant phone that you can't. It's like this modern thing, super giant 1980s phone. If it's in the modern day,
I don't understand how. For the longest time, there was the thing to do with your phone was to make it smaller, and now they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger again. It's like they're trying to tell us what is cool. Like, no. Look at your life. and decide which one is more important to you. Do you want it to be big or do you want it to be small? Don't let them dictate.
And then there's all the smart watches. I am sorry. There's no way in hell I'm going to make a phone call on a watch. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge Knight Rider fan. I did a whole Knight Rider podcast here on GCRN and everything else, but it's one of those things where, holy crap, as cool as Michael Knight's watch was to talk to Kid, I do not need that today. That just... Oh.
Yeah, and the whole illusion of the smartwatch is like, no, that watch is not actually all that smart. It just communicates with your cell phone. And it's like, no, I just can't. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not Dick Tracy here with the watch.
Oh, good old Dick Tracy. Good old Duck Tracy. There we go. Oh boy. But yeah, well, kids and their technology today. That's the other question. What kind of, six-figure jobs do half these technology people have to be able to buy these things, even if they're buying them on payment plan?
Yeah, man, I think a lot of people go into debt for this stuff. Like, I don't have a credit card. I don't believe in credit. The only part of my spending that isn't cash is we bought a house and we bought a car, and the car's paid off, so now and student loans. So student loans in my house is all we have, all that we don't actually own. So I just doesn't. If I don't have the money to buy it, I save it.
You own the house; it's just not paid off yet.
Exactly. Well, I consider that I don't own it yet. We own the house, yes, but it's not until the payments are all gone do we legitimately own it. So yeah, like these people are going into debt to do it, and they've been convinced by society that debt is the natural way of things. And you hear people say, how do you live without a credit card? You should do that to get these bonus points. Yeah, these bonus points are there enticing you to do something you shouldn't do. And that's to go into debt. No, I mean, I'm looking at this nerd wall here. Every penny of that was me working really hard to save the money to buy that stuff. Or trading up. I love trading up, because then you put $5 into something, and a year later you have something that's worth 150 because you had something somebody else wanted and trade.
Yep.
But debt scares me. I don't need to pay $40 a month for a device and end up paying 3 times as much as I would if I just saved my $3 Taco Bell money for a while.
Yeah, when I first found, I first started using Skype and all that stuff for podcasting and the network and all that stuff here. When I found out that, I could pay Skype yearly, $90 a year for a phone number and unlimited US and Canada for $90 a year. That's a hell of a lot better deal than $65 a month on any cell phone plan or any home phone plan. So.
Yep. Voice over IP, it's the way of the future. Ultimately, that's what we're doing, too. When we bundle our cable, our phone, and our internet, we're subsidizing the existence of the old network. We're supporting that. Because it still is a law that you have to have a working phone line into your house in the United States. For 911 calls and all that. I once had our phone company tell me that was not true, but no, it's certainly, here's the law. I copied and pasted it. Just because it's not it's a safety thing.
Yeah.
But
well, I think
since nobody's paying for those long distance calls anymore, the money to maintain those wires, those physical copper wires, needs to be somewhere.
Well, yeah. Well, see, the thing is there's no long distance care. I mean, I'm sure they're still out there, but there's like MCI's dead. I know MCI is dead. AT&T, there's no real long distance anymore. Like I remember, back, let's say 1990, when I was still living in Massachusetts, I would have to, call my dad's work 800 number because calling from Massachusetts to here to Kentucky was long distance. And now that's a thing of the past.
You just dial the number. I remember buying time cards, little cards with the numbers on it that you'd call to call a pen pal in Canada. Like, I could just pick up my cell phone now and call her, and there it is. That's easy. And it doesn't cost me a dime more than I'm already paying. The world has shrunk.
Yep. And I guess according to the Mission Impossible theme, our time is up.
Right.
So yay. Who the hell's calling me anyway? Damn cell phones.
I'm Joe Kramer, composer of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to listen to this podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network.
Well, I am shocked and dismayed. Well, now you can't be both. You be shocked, I'll be dismayed.
Coming in 2016, Steve Megatron and myself, TF2 and Mike, bring you a brand new TV review show. Welcome to Podcaster Meets World. That's right, we're launching a Boy and Girl Meets World review podcast here on the GCRN. It'll take us 70 episodes of the podcast to review all 158 episodes of Boy Meets World. After that, we will tackle Girl Meets World. You can find Podcaster Meets World on geekcastradio.com and iTunes starting late summer, early fall 2016. So come on and walk through the world with us.
I love the thing they call.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Want to interact with the show? You can contact us in the following ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the episode post on geekcastradio.com or alteredgeek.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter @alteredgeek. Look for us every week on geekcastradio.com, of course, Stitcher Smart Radio, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and alteredgeek.com. And now, back to the show.
Thank you so much, Joe Reed, for making a special guest appearance here on Altered Geek Unlimited. And now, we're going to talk about podcasting problems. Steve and I have been he's been podcasting 9 years this year. I've been podcasting 8 years this year. The network has been online 7 years as of June 1st. And we run into podcasting problems all the time. But before we talk about our podcasting problems, because we run a whole network of over 20 different shows, sometimes getting one little generational podcast off the ground causes all kinds of problems. So, Doug, what kind of podcast problems have you come into over the, 2 years that TBM has been around?
Actually, 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, unfortunately. Well, I've actually...
Ladies and gentlemen, it took him 3 years to do a reboot.
I know.
It's less than DC, which is kind of sad, because it took them 5 years to do a second reboot. Anyway, go ahead with your grand tales of podcast dumbassery.
Let me start off with some of the things. Part of it was that I had a great idea, and I was going forward with it. I had a bunch of episode ideas, and I started off with the wrong people, asking the wrong people to come in and host with me, and that was a blowout.
Done that one before.
Yeah, just don't go with people who think that they're going to be good and then want to take over the show. In a sense, if you can't get along talking with them in a good way, forget it. The show's going to be a bomb right off the start.
Yep.
Okay.
Really quickly before you go on, I have to tell this story. So, as everyone knows, Steve.
Yeah, you don't need to articulate that answer.
No. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be politically correct here. Steve is, as everyone knows, Stephen C. Phillips is Steve Megatron. Because Steve loves Beast Wars, and he loves Beast Wars Megatron specifically. Way back when Steve so graciously allowed me to start podcasting and basically took care of everything in the beginning, editing and all that other stuff. The way I like to tell the story now is I had to save Megatron from a Texas-sized Galvatron. So we know all about getting the wrong people to host a podcast.
I thought you were going to say that you saved me from a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but...
No, a Texas Galvatron massacre, but anyway. You know that guy was strange.
Yeah, I found that out after I never heard from him again after that, I don't think, but
anyway, go ahead. No, continue.
We all have our weirdos out there.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, I've had that. I've gone through several site changes, and it's all been seamless where most people don't even realize that it's happened, because I've gone through and I've kept the same name. I've changed hosts. I haven't really changed the background. I've changed the logo like twice, I think, and that's been about it. And really, it's kind of fallen apart. And I think my biggest problem has been just trying to find topics that everybody agrees on and everybody wants to do. That's been the main problem I've had, other than, now trying to figure out how to keep the podcast going out of my own pocket. It's, unfortunately, podcasting is not cheap. I will say that right now.
No, it's not.
You are buying equipment, stuff breaks down. My mixer that I've got here, which I don't even want to go into how much I paid for it. Now it's having problems with the rheostats, and
it's essentially a piece of dead or dying garage equipment, people. It's a Dodge.
Yeah, dodge it if you can. Yeah.
Maybe you should, flip it over and read the details.
Yeah. So I mean, there's been that. There's been that. I did some dumb things, and I'm learning it now. In that I originally had a hosting site where I had WordPress, and I was going through and actually publishing all of my podcast episodes using WordPress, which worked out great. And then I got into my head that, hey, I'm paying $20 a month for Libsyn to host my podcast files. I'll just move everything over there because they have this web page site where I can do it. Let me tell you, folks, unless you really know HTML coding and CSS scripting, which I don't, it becomes a bear to try and have to put it together correctly. So I probably will end up here. This is part of why I'm going through a rebirth and a redesign that will be coming here. I'm making some decisions and trying to find a good hosting site where I can get inexpensive WordPress hosting just to do the podcast episodes, and I'll still leave everything with Libsyn for downloads. And
we've got a plan for you that we'll talk about off air.
Yeah. So we've got some changes coming, obviously, and we're going to finally have more of a format. That's another big problem, is just not knowing how I'm going to do this, and But hey, 3 years and you run out of steam and you run out of ideas, and now you need somebody else to kick you in the ass.
Oh, dude, there have been many times, Steve, there have been many times, 7 years, many times where Steve has either called me or direct messaged me and said, I just don't give a flying furb anymore. I want to kill it and start anew and do something else. And I've talked him out of it every single time, because I am a firm believer in, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But at the same time, if there is something wrong, find a workaround, find some way to change it. We have gone through... Okay, sure, we've had 7 complete full version redesigns, but there have been infantile amount of redesigns to geekcastradio.com. There have been website changes, podcast changes. Oh, trust me. Trust us. We know. There have been plenty of times where, and I've loved doing this for the 7-8 years that I've been doing it. There have been plenty of times where I just wanted to throw in the towel because I just didn't give a crap anymore. Really, what it gets me is I generally, my original thought was, I'm doing this for myself. I want to talk to interesting people like Steve, like you, Doug, like everyone else I've talked to over the last 7-8 years. But I also become friends with, obviously we all become friends. So I want to hang out with my friends and talk with my friends and have a good time. At the same time, we all crave feedback. You put something out in the world that you want people to pay attention to.
Right.
You want to get feedback back.
And then when you don't, it's so discouraging.
Yeah, because it's like, is anyone actually is anyone actually listening to this? That's one of the reasons why I went and, through my mind on a train track this summer and just said, screw it, I'm going to do 104 podcasts in 104 days because I want to see how much people will pay. Like, if people aren't paying attention to my podcast that I put out weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, I'm going to then attempt, even though I probably know this is a poor attempt, to see if they'll, pay attention to a daily podcast.
Yeah.
And everybody loves Phineas. Well, most everybody. Everybody.
The funny thing is people, and this has always been the thing with GCRN. People have always flocked to the website when it's animation related.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the other stuff on the network is awesome, but it doesn't necessarily get the same notoriety as the animated sections of the site. And I've always noticed that, like, Tooncast Classic is our most downloaded show in the entire history of the network, and followed by Geekcast Radio because we've done the top 100s.
Right, Geekcast Radio, for those that don't know, and I know I've talked to Doug about this, but in case anyone doesn't remember, is our flagship podcast. It's where we put the big stuff, like Steve said, the top 100s, the top 50s, the huge overall geek topics. We had a whole TMNT week, we had a Batman week, we had all kinds of stuff over the years. But yeah, Tooncast Classic, I didn't kill that show. I'm one of these people, and I've said this before a million times. I know people are sick of me saying this. I have to sit here and craft a plan for myself. I need a roadmap that's going to last me, that's going to take me through. And if it changes along the way, fine. But I need a good start point, and I need a very good ending point. My plan for Tooncast Classic was start at episode 0 and get to 100 episodes. And I did that, and I ended the podcast. I then had the idea of, okay, yes, Tooncast Classic is over, but I'm going to go beyond, and I'm going to create Tooncast Beyond. We're still going to be talking about animation and various things in Tooncast Beyond, and it's, when we start that, 2011? Oh my god, that show's 4 years old. Holy shnikes.
So, in 4 episodes, this will be 3 years old at 150 episodes.
Yep.
And I still can't decide what I want the podcast featured art to be.
We can talk about that later.
I'm still messing with it. That's why.
Yeah. We can talk about that later. But here's what I'm saying is, like, you gotta have a roadmap. You can't just go in and say, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then I don't know after that.
As Joker would say in The Dark Knight, it's all a part of the plan.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Podcasting problems on our side, for me personally, it's when, like Doug mentioned earlier, equipment goes bad or things screw up. For me, it's when certain recording equipment screws up. And it's not so much like if it screws up with, I feel absolutely horrible when it happens, like with us, when it happens to us and stuff. But when I've had guests, when I've had interviews, and I can't get the recorder to work, even though I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky, behind my screen, and they're out in California or in New York or wherever they are, it's still the most embarrassing thing ever. Or when I do something that's so stupid as to lose the audio, like accidentally delete the audio or whatever else, and then I have to go to the guest and say, oh my God, something happened to my computer, or I did something and I don't have the interview anymore, I'm sorry. When I have to go back to them and basically plead for them to come back after they just spent all that, hour, 30 minutes, whatever it was. So that, for me, with podcasting problems, has really, really been a sore spot, is when the technical difficulties happen. And when they happen, it just gets me so damn depressed.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're sitting here, there have been plenty of times on M-Wire, on GCRN Wars, on our year-end review shows, where we have several, what do you say, Steve, about 20 or 30, maybe less than that?
Something like that.
Podcasts that have gone for 5 hours. That's not normally what we want to happen. Normally, for me, anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours is fine. Sometimes, depending on the conversation, it can go to 3 hours. But those 4 and 5 hour episodes, those are like some special stuff. That's, we've got 2 episodes of Movie Week in Review, episode 75, part 1 and part 2. The original trilogy and the prequels. Those 2 episodes, if you put them together, they're just over 5 hours of Star Wars film discussion. We put a lot of time, effort, and energy into this, and if something goes wrong, at least to me, even though it's not the end of the world, even though like my arm's not falling off or something, or I haven't been shot in the head, it's still a punch in the gut because, oh my God, I just had all, I just wasted all these people's time. If, if I lose the audio or something like that.
Then you feel like epic fail.
Yeah, pretty much. The other thing is, I've learned since this mistake, and I've talked about this mistake a lot, we kind of got put on the map with a question Optimus Solo asked Maurice LaMarche in the interview that we did with Maurice LaMarche. Optimus Solo asked him, and it's a simple question, we ask it all the time, what type of voice acting do you like the best? Animation, voiceover dubbing, or video game, or, something like that. And he's like, oh, well, with the video game thing, it's interesting because, it's just you in a room talking to yourself, doing lines. And he said, oh, I recently, did the voice of Mr. Freeze for Batman Arkham City. At the time, that had not been announced. Maurice just wanted to give us an honest and interesting answer. And I didn't ask him before we hung up with him if there was anything he wanted me to cut out of the interview. I went ahead, edited it immediately, got it online the next day. Some little unknown website picked it up. IGN picked it up.
Kotaku picked it up. Like, everybody had it.
Yeah, once IGN had it, it was out there.
Because I was freaking out. I was like, dude?
Yeah. So once Imagine Game Network had it, it was out there. There was no stopping it. And, I'm sitting, I got an email. I think I got an email or a message from Maurice LaMarche saying, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm like, I can edit it if you want me to. He's like, no, it's out there. And, this happened like that very day because I edited. I wanted to get this interview out there so fast. We recorded it and edited it in the same damn day. I had Steve get it online the day that we recorded it. And I had gone out with my mom, and I came back to all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, should I call the guy? Should I, I don't know. So now, because of that learning experience, and hopefully Mr. LaMarche will come back and talk with us at some point in the future, at the end of every interview I do, no matter who it is, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be, a YouTube person. It could be anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. I always ask, okay, the interview's over. I've stopped recording. Is there anything that was said in the last 30 minutes, hour, whatever, that you want me to edit out? And if they say yes, no, fine, whatever, that's fine. So yeah, that was a huge learning curve.
Yeah, I remember when you and I interviewed E.G. Daily, and that was something that I asked right from the start. If we ask anything that you think might go, that might get you into trouble, tell us, right? Go ahead, cut us off. We have no problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just friggin' crazy. What kind of podcast problems have you run into, Steve?
What haven't I run into? Well, when I first started, I was recording solo podcasts, which were a train wreck because I wasn't quite comfortable with my own voice at the time. Mm-hmm. And I was recording on one of those little $9 Logitech LabTech microphones that plug into the little port on the computer, and it sounded like garbage.
So Walmart headset, essentially.
Yeah, basically. Well, it wasn't a headset. I had a separate headset, and then I had a separate microphone. And then I ended up getting my USB ClearChat Pro that died 2 weeks ago, and I had to get a replacement, which I'm getting used to now, but it's still not the same. And then I had issues where stupid thing clicks all the time, or we've had bad audio that we've had to edit, like the first interview with David K. I eventually figured out how to clean that up because it was on a landline, and it was it was an awesome conversation, and he gave us some awesome promo spots, but I couldn't use any of them barely because they were all like in the background. So it was horrid, and so eventually I got that all straightened out. Yeah, it was great, but then of course I can't forget our early recordings of
and by early recordings he means early morning 5 a.m. morning show DJ recordings. We were crazy back then.
Yeah.
What do you drive?
Well, what I mean is, yeah, the thing that sucked about that was back in the day, we used to record early in the morning. Plus, I didn't have all of this fancy software that I have now, so I had to hand edit every show.
I'm sorry.
I went to bludgeon. And then I had to hand code the RSS feed, which was another that was a joy. I could have killed somebody.
Technology has certainly come along.
So like as the years have gone on, things have gotten easier, you could say, because everything is automated.
And plus now I've learned how to edit. Of course, I've been editing since, 2012, 2013?
A little bit longer than that. I got to give you a little bit more credit.
Well, I'm saying it's been, it was maybe, we started the network in 2009, so it was probably around 2010, maybe mid-2010, early 2011, and I finally learned how to edit. My thing is, I needed something. I needed a piece of software, like Pamela Call Recorder, that would record the entire conversation, because the one part of editing I've never learned, and hopefully if I ever get out to Michigan, or if I eventually fly Steve out to California for my wedding, I'm going to have him show me how to edit 2 tracks together. So like my audio's on one side and his audio's on one side and Doug's audio's on the third side. I've never been able to do that. So I needed a piece of audio software, a piece of recording software that's going to record the whole damn conversation, and I can then edit it. The other thing for me is, one of the reasons why Altered Geek has segments, and I love that it has segments because I use segments all the time, so I can see where to break everything up, and then I can insert whatever and fade in and out audio, like an audio clip or something like that. So yeah, I edit a lot now.
Yeah,
because I do a lot now.
Well, and then like a lot of the site stuff I have automated.
Yep.
Which is.
But again, I got to give you credit for that, because you've done amazing on the site design and you handle all the back end problems. I wouldn't like Doug said. I know nothing about HTML5. I know nothing about any of that coding stuff.
Shoot, I don't know nothing about HTML5 or CSS. The only reason I know what I know is because, then I'm certified in website design, but that was like back in 2004 under HTML 4.01.
Oh, man.
And so like I have 2 certifications from that year. Like I had 2 programs I took at a Skills Center thing, and then so like. My information is dated about then, and I used to use Front Page to build my websites, and I did until I started using, and I used it until I knew how to dig in the code and clean up certain aspects, but it was still a train wreck.
Yeah.
So I used that until I got acquainted with my buddy WordPress, and so now like I still know how to do a lot of that HTML crap. Which comes in handy when I have to hand code something periodically. But, especially when I'm doing like the GCRN Wars or the top 100 linkings on the image. Because I didn't, like, for the life of me, couldn't code that. Because theoretically you should be able to code it in CSS. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to do that. So I cheat. And I use Front Page still when I do that. So it essentially makes my job easy, and I know enough to be dangerous. I know like a lot of the stuff that's automated. I'm very thankful that it's automated.
The GCRN, let's get dangerous.
Yeah, I just... Yeah, I'm glad that everything's pretty much automated now. I don't know how I'd cope otherwise.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, so and I hope you don't mind me saying this, because you've said it before, so... in the 9 years that Steve has podcasted, in the 8 years that I've podcasted, in the 7 years that the network has been online, in that time, his life has changed drastically. He has 2 boys now. He has 2 kids now. He doesn't have time for doing everything that he used to do. So the automated stuff is like he said, he used to hand do everything all the time. So the automated stuff is just a blessing at this point.
Mm-hmm. So, anything you guys want to pimp out before we go?
Well, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna have a discussion. Doug and I'm gonna rope Doug into a discussion here with Steve, and we're gonna be talking about an all new, brand new generation. Talking about my generation will come back, bigger, better, and always uncut.
That's what she said.
Bigger, longer, and uncut. Yes.
Whatever. No, there's no way in hell that Talking About My Generation is going to have a 5-hour episode as long as I have anything to do with it. I do that enough on GCRN. Anyway.
Well, if we talk about South Park, because the movie was bigger, longer, and uncut. But
damn Canadians, Terrence and Phillip. But yeah, go ahead, Doug. Pimp out whatever you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're coming back. We have a new episode that's going to be launching July 4th for everybody to hear. We're going to be talking Independence Day, the 1996 film. Go out and listen to it. It will be out there before the site is finished. I tell you that right now, so you will have to kind of suffer with the old stuff a little bit. It's not too bad, but you'll be able to hear the audio.
Like I said, we've got a plan.
Exactly. And hopefully I'll be able to say, just like Hannibal after everything's done, I love it when a plan comes together.
Oh, thank God you were talking about that one, not the other one, because Steve loves talking about the other one, especially when I say, keep those film reels rolling. Knock it off. You know I hate that. All right. For me, everybody, please, I am... As much as we've talked about podcasting problems and dealing with podcasts and all that stuff, I know I'm crazy. I generally love to drag out podcasts over 2 years. Steve knows this. Tooncast Classic was 2 years. Tooncast Beyond is going on 4 years now. Pecan Corp Michael and I are doing 104 podcasts in 104 days for our Phineas and Ferb review show, the podcast organization without a cool acronym. I gotta say, this is probably the hardest I have ever worked in my podcasting quote-unquote career, because not only am I recording it, and, Michael's busy. He's got a wife, 2 kids, all that stuff. He works, and, Michael and Steve are very similar with their family lives as far as that and all. So, for me, essentially only having a girlfriend and no other real life to speak of, I do all the work, and I get all the posts done, I get everything done, the recording, the editing, all that stuff. We have edited and gotten the first 27, I've got the first 26 episodes ready to go, posted, edited, and ready to be published. We've published the first 11 so far, 11 days out of 104. And like I said, this is the hardest I've ever worked. I didn't even work this hard on TFG1 podcast, and that show sucked. Good old Generation 1, 1984. Anyway.
So with that, we'll be closing the show. So until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
Me Grimlock, not podcaster. Me Grimlock King.